All right. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to the SegMetrics webinar. Hey, Sam, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
So everybody out there, real quick, I usually like to get if somebody can throw in the chat that everyone can hear us and we can see us and everything sounds good. Feel free to give us a thumbs up or a yes or anything in there. But yeah, quick introduction. Cool. Thanks, David. Andrew, thanks. Awesome. Well, yeah, Sam Piliero. We are joined by Sam Piliero here today. And welcome again, Sam. Just to give you a quick introduction so everyone gets familiar with you. Sam is the founder of the Moonlighters. It's a strategic digital marketing agency focused on scaling women's fashion, beauty, and wellness brands. Sam previously worked at VaynerMedia in the direct-to-consumer e-commerce division, and most recently as a director of growth at Bark, and helping the company grow up to 300 million in revenue in the last 3 years. So welcome.
Thank you. I think you just took my
Awesome.
My second slide away here. So
Oh,
I
no,
appreciate
well, hey,
it. We're moving fast.
For sure.
Cool.
Well, Sam, I know you have a slide presentation for us, and we'll be going over a few things. So mainly what we'll be covering in today's webinar is one, how to forecast conversion rate, change your advertising spending to make sure you spend money on when people will actually convert. Talking about iOS changes, the importance of exact match keywords, and a few other things as well. So yeah. Well, Sam, I'll let you take it away, and I will stop talking.
Awesome.
For everybody out there, feel free to throw your questions in the chat, and if anything comes up relevant to what Sam's talking about, then we'll kind of cover that then. But other than that, we'll probably wait until a Q&A session right at the end. So feel free to throw those in there. I'll be monitoring, and yeah, without further ado, take it away, Sam.
Thanks, Ian. And yeah,
sure.
Regarding questions, if anyone has anything pressing, again, feel free to jump it in.
Cool.
And if not, the presentation portion of this isn't going to be that long. Big Q&A session. Happy to answer anyone's questions and see how we can help.
Awesome.
Cool. So one of the biggest things in the last 2 years has been scaling and maintaining your ROAS. It's harder than ever. So some key points we're going to go through today is how to increase your ROAS by 25% while scaling by reverting back to a setup that was used all the way back in 2012, kind of the golden era of Facebook. I won't double down here too hard because Ian did a great job introducing me, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm the founder of the Moonlighters. We specialize in women's beauty, wellness, and fashion brands. I previously worked at VaynerMedia, which was this guy's agency. And when I was a bit younger, I did some Shark Tank stuff, which was a blast. And then I was a growth director at BarkBox, helping the company go public over the last 3 years. So one of a great client that we work with is Lola Dre. They're a fashion boutique. They previously weren't spending too much on advertising. And when we picked them up, one of their biggest things was, like everyone, scaling and maintaining ROAS. So what we did in the first 90 days, we increased ad revenue by 47%. Kind of see it, little red line there, while increasing ROAS by 22%. And that also happened with 21% scale in total cost. Right. So the strategies that we're going to go through are really meant to help across the board, not necessarily pull a bunch of spend out somewhere and then therefore inflate your ROAS. And then in 2022, when most of the market was down about 15 to 20%, their conversion value was actually up 90%. So the mission in 22 for them was scaled 100%, and we only lost 10% on ROAS. And I think most people can attest to that being really, really hard to do. But again, some of these strategies, and I might be sharing too many campaigns here, but generally these strategies really, really helped us out. This is just the CEO being nice. Another company that we worked with is Glam Squad. On the Facebook side, we increased their revenue or their ROAS in 3 months by 158% and 335% increase in purchases. This honestly sounds too good to be true, and it isn't in this case. So what we're looking at here is their older campaigns in the bottom right corner, the 158% increase in ROAS from, this is roughly a 90-day period. It's really good to see. And what we're going to go through today, so the strategies that we're using on these brands to get these pretty incredible results right now, And again, reminding us all that like this is back to like a 2012-ish setup. So what we're going to go through is exactly when to run ads with specific time and day adjustments to budgets and bids, how to forecast the actual conversion rate to make those budget and bid changes so you actually spend the right amount of money when people are most likely to convert. And then something that I have a deep passion for here, how to stop wasting your money on broad audiences and target the actual customer that you need to. This was what Facebook was so special at, basically, before iOS 14.5 and all those audiences that used to be there. So that's a major play right now. And then our little secret sauce is we'll go through, and this is truly like something we don't normally share, but Ian, you and the team have been so great. So how to create an automated bot with on Google Ads to specifically cut bad search terms out. And we'll go through that in detail. Nice. So this is for you, right? This is generally for most brands, but specifically for brands that are spending $500 daily on advertising. They have enough budget, enough in motion to actually make, substantial adjustments. Cost of advertising has increased in 22. If your cost of advertising didn't increase in 2022, I would love to see what you're doing too. And maybe we could chat after this because that would be awesome to see, but I haven't seen it yet. And then you drank the Kool-Aid a little bit from Facebook and Google. They've been telling everyone, run these mega broad audiences, go to broad match keywords, or there's a bunch of strategies out there that they feel like they're funneling down everyone's throat. And I think that, too many people have kind of fell victim to them. And lastly, you're looking to squeeze profit out of your current ads and scale while being profitable. It's super key here. That's the thesis of what we do for everything, right? We want to make as much money. We want to spend the maximum amount at the maximum ROAS. So the problem, COVID's the first and most obvious problem here. And I know this kind of bellies into a lot of things, but basically when COVID happened and businesses changed pretty rapidly, cost of advertising became 2 to 3 times higher than it used to be. At the same time, we had iOS 14.5. There we go. iOS 14.5, which made everything harder to track. And obviously, this is a great little plug for SegMetrics because it solves a lot of that. But it doesn't solve all of it, right? Because there's data that the pixel's missing and so on that we still need to, inform the pixel, inform the business better. Generally, that was one of the biggest problems. And then all these platform specialists, so whether it's a consultant, an agency, or like I said before, your Facebook reps, they're all doing and telling us the exact same things. They're basically shoving down our throats like these mega broad audiences and all these recommendations that are everyone's going the same way, and therefore everything's inflating the cost of advertising. I love this little picture because this to me is just like if Zuckerberg was a rhino, this would be what we are. And this is coming from someone who absolutely adores Facebook ads more than anything and Google ads as well. But we're all being told the same thing and everyone's expecting different results. And that's not the mentality that we could have when we're spending valuable resources in our business. So the old way, and this is kind of what everyone seems to be doing right now. Everyone's running ads 24/7, 365. You might make some adjustments to those ads if you have a big sale, right? Put your budgets up, change some audiences around. Right now, everyone's running these broad audiences and they're running broad match keywords in Google, right? So just if you're a hat company, you're just running, green hats and expecting Google to do the work. The new way, we want to revert back to 2012. So we want to have strict schedules with time of day adjustments, and we'll go through this on how to do this with Google, I think, based on when your customers are most likely to convert. We want to double down on exact match keywords, have a lot of exact match keywords with a lot of negatives, like a real robust account setup to stop wasting money on terms that are completely irrelevant. And then we want to lean into first-party data because right now, the Facebook pixel is limited as it has been for the last 2 years. So we want to import as much raw data as possible. We want to use different API integrations wherever we can to push as much data into the pixel and the Google tag. This is just a little example. We launched this client, I believe, October 18th, so like 2 days before they started to see this uptick. And this is literally just doing these 3 things that we went from, if you just average this out, maybe a 10 at most purchases per day to fluctuating between 50 at a peak or 48 at a peak to a low ball of 10 or 20. So just massive change that can occur just from honestly just being smart about how you're wagering your money, right?
Sure.
So first, right now, biggest problem is everyone's spending their money when their customers are least likely to convert. We just assume that running ads 24/7, 365 is the best practice, when in reality, you're spending your money when people are least likely to convert. You can think about this really logically. If you're in bed and you wake up at 1 a.m, you can't sleep, and you just, for whatever reason, you want to go on your phone, you go on Instagram, how likely are you to pull out your wallet and make a purchase at 2 a.m? Why would we be serving ads to someone at 2 a.m? And I'm sure there's one-off brands and situations that this totally applies for, but we have all the data in front of us, so we might as well act on the data and, make adjustments. So this is an overly simple example. This doesn't go down to the hour, but this goes down to the day. So this is a brand that on Sunday or Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So I'm not sure if my mouse shows up. It doesn't. But Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, their conversion rate is substantially lower than their average. And cost value divided by conversion, which is most known as ROAS, is substantially lower on Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So we drop bid adjustments in. Again, this is the most simple example you could possibly imagine. But on Friday, starting in the afternoons, we have or Friday all day, we have a 20% bid adjustment. On Saturdays and Sundays, we have a minus 40% bid adjustments. I can't stress enough how simple this setup is, but generally speaking, you can make dozens of adjustments, and that's what we'll do on day 1 with the new client. And I urge everyone on this call to look at this exact data. So I'll go back. This report would just be the day of the week report in Google. Everyone can pull it up. It's free. It's available for us. And it should inform you when to spend the most amount of your money. Cool. Next big problem is advertising to people who aren't remotely interested in your product.
Yeah.
I love this because this was like the first eye-opening portion to me, and this is specifically in Google Ads, for broad match keywords. So I have no idea why, but Google thinks this is okay, and I don't. If we look at the red search terms here, for some reason, Google thinks it's okay for us to serve this keyword on the right. For example, wish I could show my mouse here, but summer hats on the right, for some reason, converts on summer head. And then keyword second row, sun hats, we're actually spending money on Sunday afternoon in the query. So, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of search queries that are resulting in kind of ridiculous match types like this. And it's basically just a straight up waste of money. Now, let's be fair. There are some that make sense. Travel hats, sun hat, stylish hats, woman turban hats. That makes sense. That is a decent broad match. But what happens when 10, 15% of the time we're spending money on things that literally are just wasting our money? That's a massive return back to you if you're smart about it. A few years ago, so this is like the second portion of what Google's been doing, but a few years ago, Google introduced close variants, and they did this in phrase and exact match. Most recently, phrase has been getting a little bit out of hand. So here we actually have an example of phrase match close variants. And again, same sort of issue, straw beach hats, Sunday afternoon Islanders straw hat. Come on, we're a little bit too far out of it. So that's where we just need to be more smart about how we're spending our money. And this is one, again, the first thing we do is we go through this and we integrate our solution, which is just a bot. If anyone wants this, by the way, I think I have this written on the next slide, but if anyone wants this, you could email me. And Ian, I know you're going to probably share out contact information or whatever is necessary. But we could share it. We don't normally share this like publicly because it is quite confusing, but we could help you potentially get it set up. So basically what this bot does is it pulls a list in the first green section here, pulls a list of all the exact match keywords that are in your account. And then it takes a list of all the exact match close variants that are in your search queries. And I get this can be pretty complex if this is like the first time you're hearing about this. But for those that see this problem, this was huge when I discovered this script and we worked on this. The next, it creates negative exact keywords. So it gets rid of that like crazy straw hat example that we just went through before. And then it will actually let you know in the logger if there was new negatives found and new negatives created, and then you will actually get an email sent to you with all the negatives that went into your account. First time you run this, you'll probably have something like 6,000 new negative keywords added. But then it updates every single day, and there's only like, this was mine from a few days ago, 9 new negative keywords. That's great. So we still have to bid and potentially impress on that keyword at least once to show it up, or to negate it rather. But we're still in a scenario where like, we're not going to spend 10, 15% of our budget on these keywords that, don't make too much sense for us. Excuse me. One sec.
For sure. I'll throw the email address in the chat as well.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Next issue here we have that's, again, I've drilled on a few times already, but broad Facebook audiences. Everyone that's talked to their Facebook rep, they've told you a million times over, this is the best practice. You should do it. You should do it. So your choice is pretty simple. On the left hand, we could run to 300 million people, basically all the addressable US, with low intent, no targeting. Or we could run to audiences between 10 and 30 million with moderate to high intent and leverage our first party data, plus the data that's available in SegMetrics, plus the data that's available in the Pixel. So, and I like to call this, again, similar to that image before, like the sheep versus the wolf mentality, right? You cannot just be a part of the herd in this case, because if you are, the reality is like everyone else is just going to be plateaued or going down, while the winning businesses that are making changes and doing things different are actually going to see sizable results. So on this right side here, this is just an example from a client that we have, Young Nails, are an awesome, fun client, of lookalikes that we've created. So typically, most typical lookalike audience would just be 1 or 2 lookalikes using the Pixel. But on the right side, we have actually 3 lookalikes merged into one. And there's a lot of overlap here, but our availability of the data and the match results are so high because we have all 3 of these together. So we have a lookalike of their all-time customers, a lookalike of their Klaviyo best customers, and then a lookalike actually using the Facebook Pixel. That's, even though it's limited, it's still pretty good. So we kind of fill a lot of those gaps that we're struggling to find in the past. Another example of retargeting, but same sort of thing here. We have the Pixel up on top, and then we have the customer list that's automatically updated. In this case, we're using Klaviyo to update. My fun sheep. Cool. So just some sort of recap here, a common approach versus the new opportunity and the way that we've tried to, pave our way. Common approach, spending money when your customers are least likely to convert. And the new way that we already discussed is creating these ad schedules and automated rules to spend when your customers are most likely to convert. Using broad audiences in Facebook. So we actually make Facebook money, not us money. Just, let's be real, their business, they want their stock to go up. And the new way, which would be advertising to specific cohorts, first-party data, plugging into API systems, and actually hitting people that are 100% interested in your product. The last common approach, which is, again, my big kicker here, which spend money on searches that are completely irrelevant to your business. And the new way, which is using exact match keywords to definitively target the right person and the right search. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I told you guys I'd be fast. And I know I packed a lot into just 20 minutes right there. But I'd love to just open it up to questions. There's probably a lot to unpack if we want to go into it.
Sure. Yeah, so everybody feel free to throw any questions you have in the chat and I'll read them off. Great presentation, Sam. I think, a couple of things that come to mind real quick while people are typing out any questions they have, or Yeah, and I'm definitely, in my background, I'm not an ad guy. I'm not, I'm more of the integrations type guy. But thinking about those things about spending the money serving ads to people while they're asleep. I mean, that's the stuff that it just doesn't immediately pop in your head. When you're setting up an ad and thinking about budgets and whatnot, where a huge chunk of that budget could be going to people who are asleep when those ads are being served, or like you said, at 1 morning might be on my phone, but there's definitely, I'm not making decisions about, am I going to buy this right then and there?
Exactly.
Right? So,
we find a lot of businesses will assume that, hey, say you're an East Coast business, and my typical customer wakes up at 7 in the morning. Most people will spend about 15 minutes on their phone before they get out of bed. And there's some sort of assumption that because impressions go up at 7 in the morning, that we need to spend 7 in the morning. When in reality, if we just pushed to 8, we'll probably save 5% of our budget every single day. And that compounds massively over time.
Yep. Okay. Cool. We got a couple questions that popped in. So first one comes from Scott. It says, we don't use Facebook due to the fact that our product is specific. It's home reno product. I don't expect Facebook would be able to target someone that would be in need for our product, since it's not really an interest product, something more specific, right? But he wants to know, is he wrong about this?
I would say the price point matters a lot. And if you have a single product, that matters a lot too. So if you have one single product, or like 1 to 2 products that are high price point, generally I would agree, and I would lean into Google most of the time. And I think that Google is amazing because it has super high intent. If you have a catalog of products, like 5 to 50 products, and 50 might be really on the high end, but 5 plus, then I think there's opportunity for Facebook, especially if price point is $50 and under. Generally, the Facebook and Instagram marketplace will respond quite well, even if you're in home renovation. And there's actually pretty good interest targeting for home renovation. Something I would recommend, because we work with quite a few, they're not renovation brands, but they are like linens and some very aesthetic plate brands. Targeting magazines are really interesting, and kind of like a little tip there. Cool. Hope that answers your question.
Cool. Awesome. Next question comes from Joe. It's regarding Google ads. So Joe asked, what about high product cost along with long buyer's journey products? You still recommend not running ads at 2 a.m. on Saturday? I'm asking because that would be a touch point in the buyer's journey.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that in Google, you rarely want to actually pause completely, because the intent is completely there. Where I would personally look at Google, especially if you're a high cost product, is just bidding down during those periods. So setting up a bid adjustment for potentially like minus 20%, because all that would do really is just bring your cost per click. I mean, Google really has so much control over that, but generally it should bring your cost per click down 20, 30% during that period, and just save you a little bit that you could potentially target a little bit higher too, the remainder of the day.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We'll keep moving along. So we got a few more questions popped in. So next one's from Andrew. Andrew says, I am in the high ticket coaching space. Is the audience size of 10 to 30 million the sweet spot?
That's a good question. I find that if you're being, depends on your budget, first off. 3% lookalike is the lowest lookalike I'd use, which right now is like 6 to 7 million. I typically try to keep my audience sizes 10 to 30 million. And in my opinion, for prospecting, it is a sweet spot. But when you start to look at like retargeting and such, we want to keep those similar to each other. For example, you might get 5 times more visitors than add to carts on a site. So therefore we want to do add to cart 180 days. So like the maximum available for the pixel, and a 30-day of visitors. So relatively speaking, they're pretty close, and we can manage those frequencies, and then therefore actually manage who's getting the right amount of money while still using like CBO, which is still a super powerful tool from Facebook. We don't, at least I don't ever recommend using ad set budgets, as I feel like they're a bit tricky to actually like work and manage every single day. So we try to use CBO and give Facebook algorithms some power when we can.
Cool. Awesome. Well, the next one's from Shane. Shane says, thanks. These are powerful tactics. They want to know what's the email address again?
Oh, yeah.
The negative.
So that's actually, do I have it here?
If you have a slide.
That's the in there. I'll leave it up on the screen right now.
Cool.
Shane, I know that you also asked another question while we were chatting about you. Are you running Google Ads in SCAGs or STAGs structure? We'll run SCAGs for very few keywords on very few accounts. So for anyone that doesn't know, a SCAG is a single keyword ad group or a single keyword ad or campaign. Basically, just an example, like at Bark, we ran quite a few SCAGs, but that's because the account was so large. So a SCAG that we ran was dog toys. So we can control exactly how much we want to spend on that exact term every single day, the exact bid we want to have on that term. But generally, Shane, we try to keep most of our keywords together in a few campaigns, especially for non-branded search. And then if you're in an industry that is massive and has one or two very broad, keywords, like I'm just looking around, like mouse pads, it's really hard to bid on mouse pads alone. So bidding on mouse pads as a SCAG is how we would try and set it up.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So got a question from Jeff. So Jeff here, COO of LeVay Cosmetics. I hope I said that correctly. So he asked, what do you suggest for campaign structure? We currently have a simplified structure of testing, prospecting, and retargeting.
Yep. I love your setup. I'll be honest. So often people have like 3 prospecting campaigns and everything's so broken out. And that's one of the first things we look for when we audit an account. One of the first things we do before we take on a new client is we look through their whole account. We actually see if there's gaps that they can improve, like make noticeable changes with. And we'll only take them on if they can make those changes. So in your case, Jeff, one of the things that I would look at is the structure. And your structure is pretty close to what we'll run. So we'll run prospecting, retargeting, and then a customer targeting or retention campaign, whichever you want to call it. Retargeting would be only people who've never purchased, but they've interacted with your business before. So it could be like, they saw you on Instagram, or they went to your site, they added to cart, they viewed a bunch of different products, but they never ever made a purchase. Where prospecting is obviously just pure prospecting, never even interacted with your brand. And then the retention would be they've made a purchase or they've done something valuable enough to your business, like became a lead, where we feel comfortable putting them in that retention bucket.
Cool. Awesome. We got one from Clay here. Most recently, I've had Facebook reps tell me to leave the targeting fully open and to focus on keywords in my ad text. They say they are using the ad text more for targeting purposes. Have you heard this or have any guidance on that?
I have heard this, and that's actually cool because I haven't heard a rep tell me this, but everyone's been talking about how long copy is working better. And recently we've rolled out a lot more long copy. Like it looks like we're writing like a full paragraph on some ads, a lot of bullet points, almost like how an Amazon listing functions, which makes a lot of sense because Facebook's trying to do whatever they can to match people without like infringing on their new policies. So I love this idea. I think that leaving targeting fully open is still not the right move, but you never know per business. Generally, that's not what I would focus on. However, it's not that hard to run an A/B test between fully open and some of your best performing ad sets from the past, and just see what runs the best, or like a 10% lookalike, which is still crazy broad, but not to the point where it's 250, 300 million people or whatever.
Awesome. Well, we got one more in the chat. This one comes from Jocelyn. Jocelyn asks, do you have an approach to how many audiences you are testing at one time? And what's your approach to testing audiences against each other?
Good question. We will generally like to have talking about prospecting only here, 4 to 5 audiences, really 3 to 5 audiences, depending on how much we're spending in the account. So if we're spending like a smooth $1,000 a day, we probably have like 3 audiences live and then one that we're testing into. That one that we're testing into, truly keep it as simple as just adding it to the campaign and monitoring it every single day. Find that when we start to do like true like A/B tests, that from an audience level, they're not, unless we're going head to head, like broad versus interest based or broad versus lookalikes, they'll typically ruin your immediate results just to get some sort of learning. And that's not always what we want to do unless we could totally afford it. So yeah, 3 to 4 audiences and then layer one in, and we just keep monitoring it, like check it out every single day. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that seems to cover all the questions in the chat at this point. So Jocelyn expanded, actually. Just
you set your budget for each audience or set it at the campaign level. I always set at the campaign level. As much as like I've just kind of dug into some holes that Facebook has, at the end of the day, I'm never going to be smarter than the algorithm, and I don't think anyone is. So I think the Facebook algorithm is kind of incredible. And as much as we could lean into it with some restraints, I think we are setting ourselves up for the best success. So what I don't want to do most of the time is set ad set budgets and then potentially, let's just say it's like $1,000 budget on one campaign and $1,000 on another. Mm-hmm. What we really don't want to do is spend $1,000 on campaign B that returns at a 0.5 and $1,000 on campaign A that returns at a 2.5. Extreme example, because we want to put all our budget to 2.5, and maybe that specific day Taylor Swift fans are converting really well because they're all on the internet because she came out with a new concert. Like, weird example, but that's why I typically try to use campaign level budgets.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's it.
Should cover all of it. Yeah, it looks like that's it. Now, I know, Shane, you had been, Sam, I was looking at Shane's name in the chat. I know you had mentioned a special offer for SegMetrics customers specifically.
Yes. Thanks for teeing that up for me. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, I mean, like, this is pretty simple. Like, we run mostly with women's fashion, beauty, and wellness brands. So if you're in that category, we'd love to hear from you. And we saved 2 spots from February. We don't onboard too many clients at once. So we just saved 2 spots specifically for SegMetrics people. So again, shoot me an email. Let me know you saw the webinar and see if there's something valuable here and we want to chat. Cool. And then we also included in the offer priority launch so we can get started as soon as February 15th. And then the big kicker here is we usually have a $5,000 onboarding fee. We're just slicing that off the top because we think we can move quick here. And one of the biggest things that we like to see on our side is like a client who's already using a tool like SegMetrics. That's so massive for us because it means that like their head's in the game for measurement, and it's a big step, and it really helps us when we're optimizing ads.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. Well, that's a great offer. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on today, and I appreciate all the questions. This was cool.
Sure, Sam. Awesome. Well, that will just about do it for this session. So again, if anybody wants to take up Sam on the offer there, feel free to email him and just mention the webinar. And again, we'll be sending out the video replay of this here in the next day or two to everybody. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us as well, and we'll get in touch. But yeah, thanks again, Sam, and great. I definitely learned a lot, and I know our viewers and listeners definitely learned a lot based on the amount of questions we got. So that's really awesome to see. Yeah, but I don't have anything else unless you do.
No. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, then with that, we'll sign off, and hopefully we'll catch you again, Sam, on another future date. And everybody else, we'll see you on the next one, hopefully, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Thanks, Ian.
Have a great day, everyone. We'll catch you around.